I'm Brandon Bowers, pastor of New Life Church in Locust, and I'm here with Jaron Kaiser, one of our members, board members, and also a financial advisor. In January, we had a series here called It's All His, and the sort of topic was, and the whole theme was that everything is God's. It all belongs to Him. Everything in life, everything in this world belongs to Him. And one of the areas that we tend to struggle with is the area of finance, sort of relinquishing control of our finances over to God. But we need to realize that God said the silver and the gold, they're mine. And so Jaron has come before our church and really highlighted some of the obstacles, some of the problems that we have in American culture in relinquishing control of our money. But also he pointed us to some of the solutions. In addition to that, we've offered 3 videos, supplemental videos, to answer some of the common questions and debunk some of the common misconceptions when it comes to 3 major areas of finance: budgeting, insurance, and saving and investing. This is number 2 of our 3 videos on saving and investing, so I want to jump right in and tackle some of the questions and give Jaron the opportunity to answer these for us. Number 1, Jaron, is there a difference between saving and investing?
I think that's an easy answer. I look at savings, and I haven't consulted the dictionary on this, but I look at savings as the act of putting that money away for some future use. I looked at investing as, okay, how are we going to put this money to work? The money that we've already put away by saving, how are we going to put that to work for our long-term goals?
Okay, well, if I decide that, yes, definitely saving is something that's important to me, or investing is something that I need to do, is there a certain percentage or a certain dollar amount that I should be working towards when it comes to my weekly or bi-weekly, monthly income? What's the standard?
There's not an easy answer for that. It really depends on where you are in your life financially. If I had to give you just a carte blanche answer, I would say 10%, maybe 15%. If you're younger, you can probably get away with a little less. If you're older, then you're going to probably have to put more away if you haven't saved as much.
Okay, and if I decide to go down that route, and no matter what the percentage or the amount that I choose, say for a beginning saver or a beginning investor, I know there are a lot of options out there, and if you're not very informed about those options or are familiar with the lingo, you sort of get lost and it's somewhat intimidating. Could you explain to us some of the common and simple ways for people to begin to effectively save and invest?
Well, the first thing I would tell people, again, we talked about the difference between saving and investing. Yes, put that money away, but when you get to the investing portion, know what that money is going to be used for. A lot of people go through life without goals. They know they need to save something for retirement, or maybe look at a down payment on a home, or look at funding a child or a grandchild's education. But the first rule I would tell people, know why you're investing, and that's going to tell you better what type of investment to get into. If you're saving for retirement, the easy way to do it, if your employer offers a plan, maybe look into the details of an employer plan. That's an easy way to get started with it. If you don't have an employer plan, or depending on your tax situation or other factors, then you may want to consider a personal plan like an IRA or a Roth IRA. If you're saving for education, something like a 529 plan is a good way to get started. And again, these are types of plans. It still doesn't tell you the investments inside. So you ask a relatively straightforward and easy question, but the answer is a little bit more complicated than that. But first and foremost, know why you're investing, and that's going to help you get started.
Mm-hmm. I know for me personally, the difference that I try to keep in my head is, for me, saving is something that it is money that typically remains more liquid, meaning I can access it quickly if I needed to, sort of like cash on hand, whether it's in a bank or I've stuffed it in the mattress somewhere, or keep it in a box in the refrigerator. But investing is more long term.
Correct.
Right? It's inaccessible to some degree without penalties and that kind of thing. Let's just say an individual started out with your suggestion of 10%. Is there then a further breakdown? Maybe 5% should go to savings, or 5% to investing, or is there another way to break that down? How much should stay liquid? Is there a certain dollar amount? And how much should be put away for sort of long-term investing long-term commitment, that kind of thing?
In general, most of it is going to go to meet a long-term goal. So your savings, the short-term allocation of funds, really you're looking at funding an emergency fund. And the most common guidelines on that are 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So once you've got that emergency fund met, really about any of your other savings, unless you've got something in the 1 to 2 to 5 year horizon, is going to go more toward long-term investing. So the bulk of the, we talked about budgeting, the saving line item, most of that is going to be channeled toward long-term investing.
Yeah, and in our budgeting video, we talked about servicing debt and making sure that's a part of our expenses and our budgeting. I've heard it said before that when it comes to a mortgage, we should look at that as more of an investment instead of a debt. Is that accurate? And should I say pay more on my mortgage every month as a way to invest and save?
That's going to be case by case, and let me take this as an opportunity to kind of give you some general investing guidelines. So with a mortgage, you are paying against a liability, and you're paying a certain interest rate. And depending on how you do your taxes, you're going to be able to come down off of that sum as well. So your net rate on the mortgage in this environment is going to be fairly low. You balance that out against what would I get on an investment. And when you're doing investing, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at I want to know what my net real return is. And what I mean by that is that you've got the overall return, what your investment's going to do, but you also have some tax situations to consider. So taxes are going to eat away at your overall return. That gets you to the net of your investment performance. When I talk about real, you've got this little insidious thing in economics called inflation. You're probably familiar with the term. Inflation is going to eat away at your purchasing power over time. So not only are you concerned with taxes and its implication on your investment performance, but also your real purchasing power, or the real return of that investment, is going to be undermined by inflation over time as well. So going back to the original question about the mortgage, it really depends on how you balance the two. If your mortgage is your only debt and you've got a lot of free cash flow, then it may make sense to go ahead and get rid of it if your other long-term obligations are met. The challenge I run into as a planner is that I run into a lot of seniors that they have no mortgage, but they have very little other assets. Right. And it makes retirement a very tough environment because they're not as liquid with their money supply as they could be. So it's really a balance. It's case by case. I wouldn't just sit on a mortgage for, hey, we want to get some extra deduction on taxes. Look at it in the total context of the trade-offs and your other financial considerations.
Right. When you mentioned inflation there, we all see these commercials all the time talking about from different companies, to buy and to invest in silver and gold, buying gold coins or bullion and different kinds of things like that as a hedge against inflation.
Right.
Is that accurate? Are they telling us the truth or just trying to, give us a sales pitch? Is investing in silver and gold and other material things like that a way to hedge against or protect ourselves against inflation? Is it a good, tangible way to invest and save for the future?
Yes and yes. They're trying to sell you something. I mean, that's how they make their money, and so they do that, I think, by putting fear into your life and trying to intimidate you in that sense. Yes, precious metals, especially gold, have been a good hedge against inflation over time, but I really think it comes back to, again, why am I investing? What is my long-term goal for this money that I've got invested? You've got to know that to really understand what type of investments are going to make sense for you. Gold, I think, can be a part of an investment portfolio. There is no way in the world I would put all of my money into gold. And the reason being, one of the things they don't tell you is that commodities as an investment class are the most volatile investment. So you think you're safe until gold takes its run down, and it's going to fall harder than stocks I've ever thought about falling. So it can be a part of it, but I would encourage people to take a diversified approach to investing. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, you look at the Enrons, the WorldComs of the world. Nobody saw it coming, and a lot of people lost a lot of money because they were so narrow in their investment focus. So I would encourage you to be diverse, take a broad approach, and you can channel that based on what your goal and what your time frame is, and that's going to help you to understand what investment's right for you.
Right. Well, I appreciate you answering these questions for us, Jaron, and we're out of time for now. And I'm sure there are plenty other questions that you might have. And if you would like to have those questions answered, or maybe you need some further financial coaching, feel free to contact us here at New Life. You can simply send us a message to info@newlife247.com, and we'd love to help you out, answer your questions, do the best we can to coach you towards financial freedom and prosperity. So again, thank you, Jaron, and we appreciate your time today.
Thank you.